Welcome to Kiss and Chapters, where every story begins with a spark and ends with a swoon. If you love heart-fluttering romances, unexpected twists, and characters you'll root for, you're in the right place. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so I can keep bringing you more sweet, emotional, and unforgettable stories. Let's fall in love with every chapter, together.
Chapter 1: The Last Regret. I always thought the end would come in a dramatic way. A car crash. A sudden illness. Something that made sense for a man who lived recklessly, who chased work deadlines and money but forgot how to breathe. Instead, it came quietly, so quietly I almost missed it. One moment I was sitting at my desk, the glow of the computer screen the only light in my apartment. Another endless night filled with numbers and deals. The next, a tightness bloomed in my chest, sharp and relentless. My pen slipped from my fingers, clattering against papers I'd never finish. My last thought should have been about my achievements, how I'd made it, how I'd climbed higher than most people ever dreamed. But none of that mattered. As I fell forward onto the desk, gasping, my mind betrayed me. It wasn't contracts or money that flashed before my eyes. It was her, Erin, the girl I never had the courage to confess to. Her laugh echoed faintly in my head, like a memory trapped in a snow globe. The way she used to sit by the window in class, her pen tapping against her notebook when she thought hard. The way her hair always caught the sunlight, making it look like strands of fire and gold. I could see her so clearly, even though decades had passed. And with that image came the ache of regret. I had everything, yet nothing. I had chased dreams that were hollow because the one thing I truly wanted slipped through my fingers. Not because it was impossible, but because I was a coward. I never told her how I felt. I never tried. And now I never would. The darkness closed in. My last thought was a whisper to the universe. A plea that no one would ever hear. If I could do it again, I'd tell her. I'd tell Erin that I loved her. When I opened my eyes, I expected nothingness. Or maybe heaven if such a place existed. Instead, I blinked up at a familiar ceiling. Peeling paint, a water stain shaped like a dragon. My breath caught. No, this wasn't possible. I sat up abruptly. My body felt lighter, stronger. My chest didn't ache anymore. My hands, when I held them up, they weren't the rough, veined hands of a 30-something man. They were leaner, younger. Panicked, I stumbled to the mirror hanging crookedly on the dorm room wall. My reflection nearly knocked the air from my lungs. A 20-year-old stared back at me. Same brown hair that always fell into my eyes. Same jawline I'd grown into later in life, but softer now. My face was free of the lines that work and regret had carved into it. "No way," I whispered. I staggered backward, nearly tripping over the stack of unwashed laundry by the bed. My dorm bed. My college dorm bed. This wasn't just a dream. This was real. The calendar tacked onto the wall confirmed it. The year was 15 years earlier. I had been reborn. The shock left me sitting on the edge of my bed for what felt like hours. The hum of campus life outside filtered through the window. Students laughing, someone strumming a guitar, the distant roar of a soccer game. Sounds I hadn't heard in so long. They were almost foreign. Reborn. Back in my college days. And then the thought hit me, so hard I almost laughed in disbelief. Erin. She was here. Alive, young, untouched by time. I had another chance. My heart pounded at the thought of seeing her again. But along with it came a rush of nerves. The same cowardice that had held me back in my first life. What if I failed again? What if I wasted this second chance the same way? I buried my face in my hands. Get a grip, Tyler. This time is different. It has to be. The next morning I walked to class in a daze. The hallways smelled the same. Chalk dust and floor polish. Posters for club meetings and concerts plastered the walls. Students rushed past, juggling books and laughter, completely unaware that time had turned back for me. And then, I saw her. Erin sat by the window just like I remembered. Her chin rested on her hand as she gazed outside, lost in thought. The sunlight poured over her, turning her hair into molten gold. She looked exactly as she did in my memories, except sharper, more alive. My chest tightened painfully. There she was. The girl who haunted my final breath. The girl who slipped away because I never spoke up. Now, she was right in front of me again. For a moment, I couldn't move. My legs felt like they were cemented to the floor. The classroom buzzed with chatter, but all I could hear was the pounding of my own heartbeat. Erin turned her head slightly, and her eyes swept across the room. For the briefest second, they landed on me. Her lips curved into a polite, distracted smile before she returned her gaze to the window. And just like that, I was 20 again, awkward, nervous, and completely undone by a single glance. I sat down a few seats away, my palms sweaty. My mind screamed at me, "Say something. Don't waste this chance. Talk to her." But the words stuck in my throat. When the professor began lecturing, I scribbled notes mechanically, barely absorbing anything. All I could think about was the vow I had made with my dying breath. I had been given a miracle, a second life. This time I wouldn't waste it. I looked at Erin again, her profile soft in the glow of morning light. My chest swelled with determination. "I'll tell you, Erin," I whispered under my breath, too quiet for anyone to hear. "I won't let you slip away again." That night, I lay awake in my dorm bed, staring at the ceiling. My mind replayed the day over and over. The way she smiled faintly, the way her laughter drifted through the classroom when someone cracked a joke. I knew the path ahead wouldn't be easy. I knew my nerves wouldn't vanish overnight. But I had something I didn't have before, time and a second chance. And I swore to myself, as sleep finally claimed me, this time I'd be brave. This time I'd choose love over fear. Chapter 2, Back to the Beginning. The first morning after waking up in my dorm felt like living inside a memory I couldn't quite trust. The air smelled faintly of cheap coffee drifting from the common lounge down the hall, and the sound of doors slamming and students laughing made the entire building pulse with energy. For years, I'd lived in apartments where silence was king. Thick walls, locked doors, no distractions. Now, chaos wrapped around me like a second skin. I touched the desk, the stack of textbooks, even the tiny crack in the plaster near my window. It was all here, real. I wasn't dreaming. I was 20 again. "All right, Tyler," I muttered, staring at my reflection in the mirror as I adjusted the collar of my shirt. "Don't waste this." My reflection stared back, younger and sharper than I remembered. But those same nervous eyes hadn't changed. When I stepped onto campus, sunlight flooded every corner. The pathways buzzed with life. Students rushing with bags slung over shoulders, couples walking hand in hand, clubs handing out flyers. I remembered this world vividly. It had been the backdrop of one of the biggest regrets of my life. This time, it could be the backdrop of something better. I kept testing reality in small ways. I remembered where the cafeteria used to sell those greasy breakfast sandwiches that everyone hated but secretly loved. Sure enough, the same sandwich was there. The library smelled of dust and paper, and even the head librarian was the same. Stern glasses, hair tied in a bun like she was eternally disapproving of college students. Every detail lined up with memory, which meant Erin would be here too. The thought tightened my chest. I reached the classroom earlier than usual and scanned the rows automatically. My heart nearly stopped when I spotted her by the window again. Notebook open, head bent as she scribbled something. God, she looked exactly the same as the first time I saw her. I hesitated at the door, palms sweating. In my first life, I would have walked straight past her, pretending I didn't care. But this wasn't the same life anymore. I forced myself to move, step by step. My pulse thundered as I sat down 2 seats away from her. Close enough to speak, but not close enough to draw attention. My throat was dry. Words swirled in my head, tripping over each other. "Hey!" I finally managed. Erin glanced up. Her eyes, warm brown flecked with gold, met mine. For a heartbeat, my world steadied. "Oh," she said with a polite smile. "Hey!" And just like that, I was undone. We sat in silence for a few minutes, the air between us thick with everything I wanted to say but couldn't. I remembered every little detail from my past life. The way she doodled in the margins of her notes, the way she absent-mindedly tapped her pen when she was deep in thought. Watching her now felt surreal, like watching a scene I'd seen 100 times but could never change. Until today. I said, clearing my throat. Did you do the reading for today's class? Smooth. Real smooth. She chuckled. A soft sound that made my skin prickle. Half of it. Don't tell the professor. I grinned despite myself. Your secret's safe with me. The words weren't much, but it was more than I'd ever managed in my first life at this point. Back then, I stayed silent, stealing glances, memorizing her without daring to get closer. This time I spoke, and her smile was worth every ounce of courage it took. As the professor started lecturing, I found myself glancing at Erin from the corner of my eye. She scribbled notes furiously, her hair falling across her cheek. She chewed her lip when she was focused. It was ridiculous how something so small could make my chest ache. I didn't hear half the lecture, but I didn't care. My mind wasn't on literature. It was on her. When class ended, my old self would have bolted, too scared to linger. But today I waited. She gathered her things slowly, humming under her breath. My chance. Hey, Erin, I said again, this time more confidently. Do you want to grab coffee after class? I owe you for keeping your secret. Her head tilted slightly, surprise flickering across her face. For a terrifying second, I thought she'd say no. That she'd smile politely and walk away, just like she had in my past life. But then she laughed softly. Coffee sounds good. My heart nearly exploded. The campus cafe hadn't changed. Same mismatched chairs, same chipped tables, same smell of overbrewed coffee. We sat by the window, sunlight spilling between us. She stirred her drink absent-mindedly, looking at me with curious eyes. You don't usually talk much in class, do you? I froze. In my first life, I had been known as quiet, focused, maybe even aloof. I hadn't realized she noticed. I guess not, I admitted, scratching the back of my neck. But I'm trying something new. She smiled, and it was like the sun itself had leaned closer. Well, I'm glad you did. Those words lodged in my chest, warm and dangerous. We talked for an hour about books, about classes, about the strange little quirks of college life. It wasn't deep yet, but it didn't need to be. It was easy. Too easy. I found myself laughing more than I had in years. Erin had that effect on people. She made the world softer just by being in it. And for the first time, I realized something. This wasn't just about confession. This wasn't just about fixing a regret. This was about learning how to be there, to live moments I had missed before, to build something real, brick by brick, instead of letting fear steal it away. That night, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling again. Today I'd spoken to her, sat with her, laughed with her. In my first life, I never even made it this far. I closed my eyes, her laughter still ringing in my ears. Thank you, I whispered to whatever force had given me this chance. This time I wouldn't let go. Chapter 3, Small Steps. When I woke up the next morning, my first thought wasn't about the exam I had in 2 weeks, or the assignment due in 3 days. It was Erin. Erin, laughing at the cafe. Erin, leaning on her hand, tapping her pen as she thought during class. Erin, looking at me with that surprised smile when I invited her for coffee. I'd replayed those moments all night, wide awake in my dorm bed, my heart refusing to settle. This was real. I hadn't imagined it. For the first time in my life, well, in both my lives, I had sat across from Erin, just the two of us, and I hadn't wasted the chance. But I knew one coffee wasn't enough. If I wanted a different ending this time, I had to keep going. Step by step. Small steps. I started with the simplest one, where I sat in class. In my first life, I always chose a spot near the back. It was safe, invisible. Erin sat by the window near the middle, and I watched from afar like some tragic cliché. Not this time. The next class, I walked straight down the aisle and slid into the seat next to hers before I could talk myself out of it. Her eyes flicked up, surprised, then softened into a smile. Hey, coffee guy. I almost choked. Coffee guy. That was me now. I could live with that. Hey, I said, managing to keep my voice steady. Mind if I sit here? Not at all. She pushed her bag aside, making room. My heart soared at the simple gesture. The professor started lecturing, but I barely absorbed a word. I kept sneaking glances at Erin as she wrote quickly, her neat handwriting filling the page. She caught me once, her eyebrow lifting in amusement. "You're not taking notes?" she whispered. I glanced down at my blank page. "I was planning to borrow yours." She stifled a laugh, shaking her head. Bold strategy. I grinned sheepishly, but inside, something shifted. This was how connections were built. Not with grand gestures, but with small exchanges, light teasing, shared moments. In my first life, I'd been too afraid to even try. When class ended, Erin stretched, slipping her notebook into her bag. She hesitated before speaking. "Hey, do you want to work on the group project together? I'm still figuring out which section I want." In my past life, I remembered this project vividly. I had ended up paired with two other guys, both of whom slacked off while I did all the work. Erin had been in another group, and I only saw her from a distance. But now she was asking me. "Yeah," I said too quickly. "Definitely. Let's be partners." Her lips curved into a smile. "Great. I'll message you later." She walked off, leaving me standing there with my heart pounding like I just won the lottery. That evening, I sat at my desk, staring at the group chat notification on my phone. Erin had added me, sending a cheerful message. "Hey Tyler, let's meet tomorrow afternoon to plan things out." I stared at the screen for a full minute, grinning like an idiot. If my 30-something self could see me now, he'd laugh or maybe cry. All the years I wasted, all the regret, and here I was with a new chance handed to me. I typed back, "Sounds good. Looking forward to it." And I meant every word. The next afternoon, we met in the library. She had spread her notes across the table, her hair pulled back in a loose bun, a pencil tucked behind her ear. She looked effortlessly beautiful, and I had to remind myself not to stare too long. "Okay," she said, glancing up at me. "How about we divide it like this? I'll handle the research on the early chapters, and you can take the later ones. Then we'll put it together at the end." "Works for me," I said. For the next hour, we worked side by side. Sometimes we talked, sometimes we just wrote in silence, the scratch of pens filling the space. It was comfortable, easy in a way I hadn't expected. Halfway through, she leaned closer, pointing at my notes. "You misspelled this." I groaned, running a hand through my hair. "You weren't supposed to notice." She laughed softly. "You're funny." The words nearly stopped my heart. Funny. Erin thought I was funny. I buried my grin in my notes, praying she didn't notice how red my ears had gotten. Over the next week, our small steps multiplied. We studied together, walked to class together, shared coffee again after a particularly boring lecture. Each time, I found myself opening up a little more, showing her sides of me I'd hidden in my first life. She teased me about being serious, and I teased her about drinking too much coffee. They weren't big moments, but they added up. And each night, as I lay in bed, I felt the weight of regret lifting, piece by piece. One evening, as we packed up after studying, Erin glanced at me. "You're different than I expected, Tyler." I froze. "Different how?" She shrugged, smiling faintly. "You don't talk much in class, but when it's just us, you're actually easy to talk to. I didn't think you'd be the type." My chest warmed. In my first life, I never gave her the chance to see this side of me. "Maybe I'm trying something new," I said, echoing what I told her before. Her smile deepened. "Well, I like it." And with those words, I knew my small steps were working. This time, I was closer. This time, I wasn't just watching from afar. This time, I was part of her world. That night, lying in bed, I whispered into the dark, "I'm not letting go, Erin. Not this time." Chapter 4. Coffee and Memories. If someone had told me 2 weeks ago that I'd be sitting across from Erin in the campus cafe again, I would have laughed in disbelief. In my first life, I had hovered on the sidelines, watching her from afar, pretending it didn't matter. I let my silence build a wall that time and distance eventually made permanent. But this time I wasn't silent. This time, she was here with me. The cafe was noisy that afternoon, buzzing with chatter and clinking mugs. Students crowded around tables with laptops. Couples leaned close in whispered conversations. Erin and I found a small table near the window, sunlight spilling between us like a bridge. She stirred her drink absent-mindedly, the spoon clinking against the ceramic. "So," she said, leaning her chin on her hand, "tell me something about you." My heart skipped. Something about me? In my past life, I had perfected the art of hiding behind work, ambition, and small talk. But if I wanted something different now, I had to be different. "Well," I said slowly, "I'm terrible at spelling. You've probably noticed by now." She laughed, and the sound made my stomach flip. "I did notice. Your notes look like a secret code sometimes." "Maybe I'm just ahead of my time," I said with a grin. Her laughter lingered, soft but genuine. "Okay. But seriously, what do you like? Besides coffee, obviously." I hesitated. My past life flashed through my mind. Late nights hunched over spreadsheets, weekends sacrificed to deadlines, years spent chasing success at the cost of, well, everything. "I like people who make the world feel lighter," I said quietly. "People who remind you that life isn't just about working hard, but about enjoying the small things too." Her eyes softened, and for a moment, I wondered if she understood I was talking about her. We drifted into easier topics after that. Classes, professors, music, movies. I listened more than I spoke, memorizing the way her eyes lit up when she talked about her favorite books, the way she gestured with her hands when she got excited. "You ever notice," she said suddenly, "how people always say college is the best years of your life? Like, what if it isn't?" I blinked. That was a thought I'd had countless times before. "Then maybe," I said carefully, "it's about who you spend it with, not what the years are." Her gaze lingered on me longer than usual, and something in my chest tightened. Halfway through our drinks, she pulled out her phone and showed me a picture of her family's dog. "This is Max. He's basically my little brother." The dog, a scruffy golden retriever, looked half asleep in the photo, tongue hanging out. "He's majestic," I said solemnly. She burst into laughter, covering her mouth. "Majestic? He's a disaster. He once ate an entire pie off the counter." I shrugged. "That sounds majestic to me." Her laughter drew a few curious glances from nearby tables, but I didn't care. The sound was addictive. As we walked out of the cafe afterward, the late afternoon sun painted the campus in gold. We strolled side by side, our steps unhurried. Erin tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "You know, Tyler, I didn't think we'd end up hanging out this much." My chest squeezed. "Is that a bad thing?" She smiled softly. "No, it's nice." Her answer shouldn't have felt like victory, but it did. That night, lying in bed, I thought about how fragile time really was. In my first life, Erin had drifted further and further from me until she wasn't even in my orbit anymore. She had dated someone else, graduated, and eventually left for opportunities abroad. I'd let it happen without fighting, too cowardly to risk rejection. Now, I wasn't going to let fear decide for me. I replayed her laughter, the way she looked at me across the cafe table, the softness in her voice when she said being with me was nice. I pressed my hand over my heart. This time, I swore, I'd turn nice into something more. Chapter 5: The Little Things. I've been reborn for weeks now, and I still can't get over how different everything feels. Or maybe it's not the world that's different. It's me. Back then, I was always rushing. Rushing to classes, rushing to finish projects, rushing to grow up. I thought there would always be time later. Time to breathe, time to laugh, time to tell Erin how I really felt. But there wasn't. Now I know that. And so, I find myself lingering over the little things. Like how the morning sun looks softer when it hits Erin's hair. Or how she chews on the tip of her pen when she's thinking. Or the way her laugh bubbles out when she's caught off guard. It's not polished or careful. It's real. I don't think I noticed these things before. Or maybe I did, but I didn't let myself treasure them. "Tyler, are you even listening?" Erin waves a hand in front of my face. We're sitting in the library, supposedly studying for a quiz. She's cross-legged across from me, her notes neatly spread out. Meanwhile, I've been staring at her like a fool. Yeah. I say quickly, even though I have no idea what she just said. She narrows her eyes, suspicious. Really? Then what did I just ask? I grin sheepishly. Something about triangles? She laughs, shaking her head. Wow, incredible, truly insightful. I chuckle too, relieved that she's not annoyed. Sorry, got distracted. By what? You. I don't say it, of course. Not yet. Instead, I shrug. Nothing important. That's how it's been lately. Me slipping into moments where I just watch her, trying to memorize her expressions, her voice, her habits. It feels like I'm collecting pieces of her, so I'll never lose them again. And the strangest part? I think she notices. Tyler, you're different. Erin says one evening as we're walking home together. The air is cool. The sky painted with streaks of pink and orange. You're, I don't know, softer, kinder. My heart lurches. Was I not kind before? You were, she says quickly. But you were also distracted, like you were always thinking of something else. Now it feels like you're more present. I smile faintly. Maybe I've just learned to appreciate the little things. She tilts her head at me, curious. Like what? Like you. Again, I keep it to myself. Instead, I point at the sky. Like sunsets. Or the way the air feels different after it rains. Stuff like that. She smiles, and her eyes soften in a way that makes my chest ache. That's kinda sweet, actually. I look away before she sees the emotion in my face. That night, when I'm lying in bed, I realize something important. Back in my first life, I thought love was about the big moment. The grand confession, the perfect timing, the fireworks. That's what I was waiting for. But maybe love isn't just about the big things. Maybe it's about the little ones too. The everyday moments. The quiet laughs. The shared silences. The simple act of walking side by side. And if I want to win Erin's heart this time, maybe I shouldn't wait for the perfect chance to say everything. Maybe I should start with the little things. Chapter 6, The Walk Home. By the time the last bell rang, the sun was already dipping low, spilling amber light across the campus lawn. I shoved my books into my bag with trembling hands. Today wasn't about books or homework. It was about not messing up the second chance I'd been given. When Erin appeared at the door of the classroom, hair swaying gently as she waved at me, my heart leapt like it had in both lives. Ready to go? She asked, her smile brighter than the golden sky outside. I nodded quickly. Yeah, let's walk together. We slipped out of the building, the world unusually quiet. Students scattered in groups, but Erin and I drifted to the edge of the campus where the sidewalk stretched into our neighborhood. For once, it felt like the universe had arranged this moment only for us. The air smelled faintly of fresh-cut grass, and cicadas buzzed lazily in the trees. My palms sweated as I clutched my backpack straps, pretending I wasn't rehearsing 100 different versions of what I wanted to say. She walked beside me, humming softly to herself, the sound tugging at something deep inside me. How many nights in my first life had I dreamed of walking her home like this, only to always hold back? You're awfully quiet today, Erin teased, glancing at me. Usually you have some sarcastic remark ready about how boring history class is. I scratched the back of my neck, embarrassed. Maybe I was actually paying attention today. She laughed, the sound tinkling like wind chimes. Now that's the biggest lie I've ever heard. My chest warmed at how easily she teased me. It made me want to reach out and take her hand, but my courage still wasn't steady. Instead, I asked, "Do you ever think about second chances?" Her brows furrowed slightly. Second chances? Like, if you could redo something you messed up before, would you take it? She slowed her steps, thoughtful. Depends on what it is. Some mistakes teach us lessons, you know? But, she looked at me, her eyes soft. If it's about someone you care about, then yeah, I think I'd want a second chance. Her words hit me harder than I expected. My throat tightened. In my first life, I hadn't confessed. I had let time slip, and in the end, I lost her forever. But now, hearing her say this, it was like the universe was telling me not to waste the moment. We reached a quiet stretch of road lined with old trees, their branches casting dappled shadows over the path. I swallowed hard. My heart hammered. Erin, my voice cracked, and I coughed, trying again. There's something I've been meaning to tell you. She stopped walking, tilting her head at me. What is it? The words sat heavy on my tongue, trembling between fear and hope. I like you. I've always liked you. That's what I wanted to say. But before I could open my mouth, a group of kids from our class came running down the sidewalk, calling Erin's name. She turned to wave at them, laughing as they pulled her into conversation. My chance slipped away in the span of a few seconds. I clenched my fists, frustration bubbling in my chest. But then Erin glanced back at me, her smile warm, her eyes lingering as if she was waiting for me to continue. Maybe this wasn't the exact moment. Maybe it was a test. The world was giving me opportunities, but I had to be brave enough to seize one. As we reached her house, Erin waved goodbye, lingering a little too long at the gate. Thanks for walking with me, Tyler. I liked it. Her simple words lit me up inside. I smiled back, softer than I ever had before. Me too, Erin. Me too. As she disappeared into her house, I stood on the sidewalk, the sky now painted in deep oranges and purples. This time I swore to myself I wouldn't let her slip away. Chapter 7: The Promise of Tomorrow. The morning after our library study session, I woke up with an odd lightness in my chest. It wasn't just because Erin had smiled at me more than she had in weeks, or because she had leaned close enough for me to smell that faint lavender scent she always carried. No, it was because, for the first time since my rebirth, I felt like I wasn't stumbling in the dark. I had spent so much of my second chance scrambling, afraid of repeating mistakes. But last night proved something. Erin wasn't out of reach. I could actually be part of her world. Don't mess it up this time, Tyler, I muttered at my reflection in the mirror as I got ready for school. My past self had been a coward, always choosing silence over risk. This time, silence was not an option. At school, Erin was waiting by the lockers. She wasn't usually the type to wait around for anyone, which made my heart skip a beat. "Morning," she said, giving me that small smile again. I was thinking, do you want to grab lunch together today? Just us. If my soul hadn't already died once, it probably would have right there from shock. Erin, asking me to lunch? That had never happened in my old timeline. Yeah, I said, trying to sound casual when inside I was screaming. I'd like that. Her smile deepened, and she brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. Cool. Meet me by the bleachers. All through the morning classes, I couldn't focus. The idea of sitting with her, alone, was both thrilling and terrifying. When lunch came, I practically sprinted to the bleachers. She was already there, legs swinging gently as she sat with her lunchbox on her lap. I brought extra today, she said as I approached. Thought you might want to share. The simple gesture nearly floored me. You're spoiling me, Erin, I teased, though my voice came out softer than intended. Don't get used to it, she replied, but her cheeks colored just enough to tell me she didn't mind. We ate together, laughing about little things. She told me about her dream of traveling abroad one day, about how she wanted to see the northern lights in person. You? She asked suddenly. What's something you've always wanted to do? I looked at her, and the answer was immediate, effortless. Tell someone how much they mean to me, without being scared of the consequences. Her chopsticks paused midair. For a moment, I thought I'd said too much, but then she smiled softly, like she understood more than I was letting on. That's a good dream, she said, her voice quiet. I think you should do it. I swallowed hard. She didn't know that I was talking about her. Or maybe she did. The rest of the day passed in a blur. By evening, I found myself walking Erin home again. The sky was streaked with pink and gold, and she hugged her books to her chest as we walked side by side. You know, she said suddenly, I'm glad you're around more these days. Feels like you're different somehow. In a good way. I stopped walking for a second, startled. She noticed. You okay? she asked. I forced a smile. Yeah, I'm glad to. You have no idea how much. She tilted her head, studying me with that curious expression that always made me feel like she could see right through me. And maybe she could. As we reached her house, I hesitated. The words were on the tip of my tongue. I like you, Erin. But the fear still lingered, even in this second chance at life. So instead, I said softly, thanks for today. It meant a lot. Her eyes softened, and she gave me that smile again. The one that made my reborn heart beat with the hope of tomorrow. Anytime, Tyler, she said. See you tomorrow. Tomorrow. The word carried a promise. One I was determined not to waste again. Chapter 8. When the heart speaks louder. The auditorium buzzed with excitement. Tonight was the school's annual music showcase. Something I had avoided in my first life, afraid of the spotlight. But this time, things were different. Erin was different. She was performing a duet with her best friend, and I wasn't about to miss it. I found my seat near the middle row, clutching my phone like a lifeline. I wasn't performing tonight, but my heart beat as if I was the one about to go on stage. My chest tightened when the curtains rose, revealing Erin under the warm stage lights. She looked breathtaking, not in the way magazines make people out to be, but in the way only she could, hair tied up loosely with a ribbon, her soft smile tugging at my heart. She wore a simple dress, nothing flashy, but somehow she outshone every star in the sky. When she began to sing, I swear the room held its breath. Her voice wasn't trained, but it was genuine, clear, and full of warmth. It was like listening to sunlight. My hands clenched. In my first life, I had missed so many of her performances because I thought, why bother? She doesn't care if I'm there or not. But now, sitting here, I realized how wrong I had been. Erin mattered. Her moments mattered. And I was going to be there for all of them. After the performance, when the crowd spilled out into the hallway, I pushed through the crowd until I found her. She was laughing with her best friend, cheeks flushed with happiness. Erin, I called, lifting a hand. Her gaze snapped to me, and her eyes lit up in recognition. That little spark, it was worth every second of rebirth. Tyler, you came? She asked, surprised. Of course, I said, trying to sound casual even though my throat was dry. You were amazing up there. She ducked her head, embarrassed. I wasn't. I almost missed that high note. You didn't. You were perfect. The words slipped out before I could stop them, but I didn't regret it. For once, I let my heart speak instead of my fear. Her friend grinned knowingly, excused herself, and left us standing in the crowded hallway. Erin twisted her ribbon between her fingers, glancing at me. You really think I was good? I don't think, I said. I know. Her smile was soft, hesitant. My chest tightened. I wanted to tell her everything right there. That I liked her, that she meant more to me than anything else. But the hallway was too loud, too full of distractions. Confessing deserved more than a passing moment in the crowd. Walk home with me? I asked instead. She nodded. Yeah. The night air was cool, carrying the faint scent of lilacs from Mrs. Henderson's garden as we walked side by side. The street lamps cast long shadows, and our footsteps echoed in rhythm. I shoved my hands into my pockets to keep from reaching for hers. Patience, I reminded myself. I couldn't scare her away with my sudden intensity. Thanks for coming tonight, she said quietly. It meant a lot. Thanks for inviting me into your world, I replied. She glanced up at me, her lips parted slightly, as if surprised by my words. Then she smiled, small, secretive, like she was holding on to something she didn't know how to say. We reached her house sooner than I wanted. She turned to me at the gate, her ribbon slipping from her fingers. Good night, Tyler, she said softly. I swallowed, every nerve in my body screaming at me to speak. Tell her you like her. Tell her before it's too late again. But fear, that old enemy, crept in. My throat closed. My heart pounded so loud I thought she might hear it. So instead I said, Good night, Erin. Her eyes lingered on mine for a moment, and something unspoken passed between us. Then she turned and slipped inside, leaving me standing there in the glow of the porch light, cursing myself for my hesitation. When I got home, I dropped onto my bed, covering my face with my hands. In my past life, I had missed this chance, and I had just missed it again. But this time, I wasn't going to let it slip away completely. No more silence. No more fear. Next time, I would tell her. I had to, because my heart was already hers, and it had been for 2 lives now. Chapter 9, The Bridge Between Us. The autumn festival buzzed with lanterns, laughter, and the smell of roasted chestnuts. The last time I'd been here, in my previous life, I'd come alone, staring at the lights that meant nothing without her. This time, Erin walked right beside me, her scarf brushing against my arm, her laughter brighter than any lantern in the sky. I kept stealing glances at her. Her cheeks were pink from the chill, and every now and then she'd stop at a stall, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. I bought her a candied apple without asking. She blinked at me, surprised. "You remembered I like these," she said softly. I froze. I guessed. But the truth was, I remembered everything. Every detail, every smile, every regret. My chest ached with the weight of it. We walked to the old bridge at the edge of town, the one strung with lanterns that swayed in the breeze. It was quiet there, away from the crowd. The same place I had once stood alone after failing to confess. The same place where I swore, if given the chance, I wouldn't waste it. Erin leaned on the railing, gazing at the water. "It feels like déjà vu," she murmured. My heart pounded. Maybe she felt it too. Maybe some part of her remembered. I took a deep breath. "Erin," I said, my voice trembling despite all the promises I'd made to myself. She turned, her eyes wide, waiting. This was it. No excuses. No cowardice. "I've liked you for so long," I said, each word breaking free from years of regret. "Back then, I was too afraid to tell you. I missed my chance, and I've regretted it every single day. But now I don't want to lose this moment." For a long second, she just stared at me, her lips parted, her breath misting in the cold night. My chest tightened. Had I pushed too fast? Too suddenly? But then, she smiled. A smile so gentle, so knowing. It felt like the universe had given me a second chance on purpose. "Tyler," she whispered, stepping closer. "I was waiting for you to say that." The air stilled. The lanterns above flickered. My world finally aligned. I laughed shakily, almost disbelieving. "You what?" She blushed, lowering her eyes. "Back then, I wanted you to say something. Anything. But you never did. So I told myself maybe it wasn't meant to be." Her eyes met mine again, shimmering. "But standing here now, it feels like it always was." Something inside me broke open. Years of regret dissolving into something softer, brighter. I reached for her hand, and she didn't pull away. This time, I wasn't too late. Chapter 10, Forever this time. I used to think life only gave you one chance at love. That if you missed it, it was gone forever, like a train you were too slow to catch. But now, sitting across from Erin on the park bench where everything started again, I know that's not true. Sometimes, life gives you a second chance if you're brave enough to take it. Her hand is small and warm in mine, her smile soft as she looks at me. "You've been staring for a while," she teases. "What's going on in that mysterious head of yours?" I laugh, shaking my head. "Just thinking about how lucky I am to be here with you, to have this moment." She tilts her head, the sunlight catching in her hair like strands of gold. "You're acting like we're in the middle of some epic movie." "Maybe we are." I squeeze her hand, my voice dropping, more serious now. "Erin, do you know how long I've wanted this? To be here, with you, without regrets." Her eyes soften, curiosity flickering in them. "How long?" "Longer than you think." I want to tell her everything. The regrets of my past life, the pain of losing her, the aching loneliness of realizing I missed my chance. But instead, I say the only truth that matters now. "I've loved you for years." The words hang in the air, heavy and light all at once. My chest tightens, remembering the first time I tried to say them, how I failed, how I let silence steal everything from me. Not this time. Erin blinks, stunned, her lips parting slightly. Tyler. I don't let her pull away. Not now. I was scared before. Scared you wouldn't feel the same. Scared of ruining what we had. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that the only real regret is not telling you. For a moment, I brace myself for rejection, for polite disappointment. But then Erin laughs softly, almost in disbelief. Her eyes shine, and she shakes her head. You idiot. My heart stutters. What? She leans closer, her forehead nearly touching mine. Do you know how long I waited for you to say that? How many times I thought you were going to confess, only for you to chicken out? I blink. Wait, you knew. Of course I knew. She laughs again, and it's the most beautiful sound I've ever heard. I liked you too, Tyler. I just thought maybe you didn't feel the same. You were always so good at hiding it. I groan, covering my face with my free hand. I'm such an idiot. Yes, you are, she says warmly. Then she gently pulls my hand away, her eyes locking with mine. But you're my idiot. And then, before I can overthink, before fear can stop me, she closes the distance and kisses me. It's soft at first, hesitant, like we're both testing the waters of something new and yet achingly familiar. Then I tilt my head, my hand cupping her cheek, and the kiss deepens. Feels like coming home. When we finally pull apart, she whispers against my lips, no more waiting, okay? No more missed chances. Never again. I promise, my voice rough. The world moves on around us. Kids playing nearby, the wind rustling through the trees. But all I can see is her. All I can feel is the certainty that this time, I won't let her go. I used to think life only gave you one chance at love. But with Erin's hand in mine, her smile brighter than the sun, I know better. Sometimes life gives you two. And this time I'm holding on forever. Bonus chapter: A promise kept. I used to think that second chances were only for the lucky. That regret was something you had to carry forever, tucked away like an old scar no one else could see. But as I stand here, Erin's hand in mine, her head resting against my shoulder, the golden glow of the setting sun wrapping around us, I realize I wasn't just lucky. I was blessed. Tyler, she murmurs, her voice as soft as the breeze ruffling her hair. Do you ever think about what would have happened if things had gone differently? I chuckle. All the time. But then I stop because I already know. If I hadn't been given another chance, I would have lost you forever. And that thought used to crush me every single day. Her fingers squeeze mine, grounding me in the way only she can. We're sitting on the steps of her family's porch, the same one I used to visit when we were teenagers. Back then, I would come here, laugh with her, tease her, steal glances when she wasn't looking, and still walk away without saying the words that burned in my chest. Now I don't have to hide anymore. I think fate knew you'd mess up, Erin says, turning to look at me, her smile tugging at the corners of her lips. So it gave you a do-over. Hey, I protest, grinning. That's unfair. I was cautious. She laughs, the kind of laugh that melts years of loneliness in a heartbeat. Cautious? Tyler, you were hopeless. I practically gave you neon signs, and you still didn't see them. I feign offense. Excuse me, I was subtle. Subtle is classy. Subtle is missing your chance to kiss me at prom, she counters. I groan, covering my face with my free hand. Don't bring that up again. I already confessed my eternal shame. Erin leans closer, her voice dropping to a playful whisper. Well, you've made up for it since then. Her lips brush against mine, soft and sure. And the years I wasted are nothing compared to the lifetime I get to spend making her feel loved now. When she pulls back, I press my forehead against hers. Erin, I'm never letting go this time. No more missed chances. No more silence. Her eyes shimmer, reflecting the fading light. Good, she says simply, because I waited long enough for you. And just like that, the ache of regret that once weighed me down is gone, replaced by warmth, by certainty, by love. The boy who never spoke up is gone. In his place stands the man who finally did. And this time I'll keep my promise. Always,